You guys have heard us talk about HMR constantly. We're so excited to have Kyle with us today because he's going to share a little bit more about what they do and how they can help you and your client.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you so much for having us. So I'll kind of run everybody through, not to take up too much time. If you're not familiar with what we do, the core of our company is medical funding for people who are catastrophically injured. We've been doing this for about 15 years. We are nationwide. We do this in 40 states. And a typical case for us is somebody who's sustained, like I said, a catastrophic injury, and they are either uninsured or underinsured and can't get the treatment they need while their case is going on because they either don't have the financial resources or there's not doctors who will work on a lien. A lot of what we do around the country revolves around traumatic brain injury. We've been fortunate enough to be some of the best rehab facilities around the country. So a lot of people are coming to us saying, hey, my client's got a brain injury and they need all this care, and I've got this great life care plan, but they can't get any of the treatment. And so we kind of bring that life care plan to life and allow these people to get rehab or cognitive therapy or behavioral therapy or all the different modalities that kind of come with that. And it really kind of changes the dynamic in a lot of these cases when you can bring those things to the table. And it doesn't just stop at traumatic brain injuries. We do a lot of prosthetics cases where people have amputations. We do a lot of spinal surgery cases. We do a lot of the everyday stuff like injections and MRIs, but most people don't need us for things like that. But as a result of doing those cases, that's how we got led to my good friend Cody. We started getting requests for people to fund the actual litigation expenses. And that can be everything from an accident reconstructionist to a demonstrative like Cody is doing, to experts to come testify live at trial. Instead of using maybe the firm's line of credit, you can utilize our resources to kind of have that firepower that you need when the defendants are, putting $100,000, $200,000 to defend their case. This gives you the ammunition to do the same. And so we launched that about 3 years ago, and it took off like a rocket ship. And so those two things combined really make up kind of the bread and butter of what HMR is about. We're not for every case. But when you get us, we really feel like you get somebody who's an asset to the case and to your client and to your firm. And so we've got people all over the country, so you can have a real life, like personal experience with somebody. But yeah, that's us in a nutshell. We really love being a part of this, each week. It's been fantastic for us. So if we can help you, we'd love to.
Hey, Kyle, question.
Yes, sir.
Like I asked Cody, because we're all concerned about cost.
Sure.
One, what's your experience when the other side thinks you're undercapitalized, a plaintiff? What's your experience been with that? You mentioned that question. Second of all, is there a fee for calling you and saying, hey, Kyle, this is what I have. What can you do? And can you tailor what you do to that? And maybe they say, hey, I can't find, my client really needs to see somebody in our region. We're having trouble finding somebody. And three, values of cases. Can you help them say, hey, I had a case just like this in Kansas or in Seattle or in Florida or whatever, Pennsylvania? That's a compound question, as we say. He's objecting, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, I'll take it in pieces. I think when the perception is when maybe the plaintiff's firm comes and they feel they're undercapitalized, it's kind of like a scab they want to pick, and they feel like they can outspend you, out expert you, and kind of intimidate the entire matter. And I think when you can step up to the table and put on the kind of case you want to put on that's in the best interest of your client, it's a different ballgame. It really is. And you talked about the young lawyer. I mean, this gives maybe some of those younger lawyers who might not, have that war chest, the ability to do some things like that. I think as far as calling us, look, we get calls every week with people going, hey, this is what I got.
Right.
There's obviously no fee for it. Really, it's kind of putting the pieces of the puzzle together. A lot of what we get, Doug, is somebody going, hey, I practice in Florida, but I've got a plaintiff who lives in Tennessee, and
Right.
they need care here, and can you help? And so I think we become more of that conduit to be able to put those pieces of the puzzle together. So in those moments, it becomes less about money and more about, hey, resources, and do you have the right fit for my clients? And so we do a good job of that week in, week out.
Hey, Kyle.
Neil,
Good.
go ahead.
I'm sorry, Doug, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Neil, those of us who in cash, we've been doing this a while. I love having different resources to talk about structured settlements, to talk about what HMR brings to the table, talk about, hey, I got this guy in Missouri who goes nationwide. He can do an animation for us, or he can do. Don't you think that as trial lawyers, we have a duty to keep up with these things and know what's out there, Neil?
Oh, I completely agree. And not only do we have a practical duty, but in the code of ethics, of course, you have an obligation to stay proficient with technology. Kyle, can I ask you a practical question? You hit on such an important point. We represent very seriously injured people. We're developing life care plans, but then they're not funded. So at trial, the life care planner has to answer a very difficult question like, hey, you say she needs X, Y, and Z. She isn't getting any of that treatment. Talk to us about the lift that you provide the client who can get that treatment and how much better they start feeling when you fund it, and what that does to that question or that line of cross-examination at trial.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of takes the wind out of their sails when you can sit there and say, well, they've had 6 months of care in this rehab facility. I'm thinking about a specific case out of Wisconsin I worked with. It was a CO case. The lady needed the care, had a $10 million life care plan, and without being able to go to the facility locally there and get some of the cognitive rehab, not only for the case, but to get her on the road to recovery, to teach the family coping skills and how to deal with the injury and what life was going to be like after, she left there, was instrumental. So I think there are these kind of light bulb moments that happen when people can get that care and they realize, hey, not only am I on the path to recovery, but again, it gives you that extra oomph in the case. And I think most people just don't know it's a resource that exists, right? They're hoping their insurance company is going to step in and cover all the care they need. And unfortunately, most insurance companies, that's not what happens, and they regularly deny. So that's the feel good part of our business, Neil, is being able to help the people on the other end of it who are really, really hurting, and their kind of life is turned upside down. So.